I'm inspired in my defiance today by the fact that the Senate voted on two healthcare proposals today and passed neither of them. They voted on the promised ACA subsidy extension for 3 years that the Democrats had wanted, and that failed. And then they voted on a Republican proposal to give $1,500 for a health savings account that would have essentially afforded people almost none of their premiums. Neither of those proposals went through because they cannot come together and actually decide what is best for the American people in order to be able to afford a basic right like healthcare. I do understand the idea of not wanting to continue subsidies and just kicking the can down the road for 3 years. What I cannot understand is the idea of telling millions of Americans that the price of their healthcare premium is going to skyrocket in January. The inability for these lawmakers to come together and come up with reasonable solutions for this healthcare crisis means that the system that we are under is fundamentally broken, and there is no solution other than making it harder for everyone to see their doctors, to pay for their healthcare premiums, and essentially to be healthy within this modern American environment. It's estimated that there are 21.8 million people who have received these subsidies before and who now will no longer receive them. That is likely going to lead to between 4 and 5 million people dropping off of these healthcare plans. And the alternative is emergency healthcare alone. This is the kind of healthcare, this emergency room only kind of healthcare, that leads to bankruptcy. It leads to crippling medical debt, and it doesn't lead to anyone feeling safer or healthier or cared for. And with the cost of almost everything rising as well, people are going to make decisions about whether or not to eat, be able to survive and live in a home, or to be healthy. This is not an abstract concept. It's not something that should be a political football. It is a fundamental right that we should be able to receive care when we need it. And the lack of will to come together, the lack of will to find solutions so that everyone can have affordable health care, is a fundamental flaw of this two-party system. And the only glimmer of hope that I have within this is that people will see, once all of these subsidies fall off, people will see just how much trouble we are in. The costs of healthcare, when 4 to 5 million people drop out of these plans, are going to skyrocket for everyone, even if they weren't previously receiving these subsidies. This is cruelty by politics. It's not about who is going to blink first, who is going to balk. Rather, this is about the health and well-being of everyday Americans. And if this Republican-led government cannot figure out a way to ensure that people will have the care that they need, I believe that the voters will turn against them in droves. I'm also inspired today by the fact that Kristi Noem has ducked out early from a hearing with the House of Representatives in which she did not answer questions for how she is dealing with immigration. Her policies of mass deportation are impacting everyday U.S. citizens, and her denial of that fact is flying in the face of the truth. She continues to believe that U.S. citizens are not being rounded up in these efforts. But every single day, particularly in Minnesota, U.S. citizens are being targeted because of the way that they look, because of the languages that they speak, because of their geographic location. I think it's pretty clear that Kristi Noem is a coward. She doesn't want to answer for the things that she has done. She doesn't want to answer for the deeply unpopular policies of the Trump administration. She has drudged up the 1798 Alien Enemies Act in order to justify some of these policies, but in effect, she has simply created modern atrocities. Even as protesters shouted to end the deportations, even as voters turn against them because these policies are nonsense, she will not answer to anyone. So the Democrats did what they could by releasing the set of unanswered questions that they would have asked had she actually stayed. This is a good first step in this process, but it cannot be the only one. We should all be asking questions. Questions like, why is it that US citizens are being targeted? Why is it that a US citizen who says that they can produce their ID is not allowed to do so, and that they have to use a facial recognition app that only DHS has access to? We should be asking questions about how this is making any of us safer. We should be asking questions about how this is legal and what actual precedent there is for going into cities and rounding people up. These are the questions that she will have to answer for, that the entire Trump administration will have to answer for. And as we've seen over the last few days, the International Criminal Court is getting very interested in what the Trump administration is doing. It is not just Pete Hegseth who is likely to be accused of war crimes. It is not just Donald Trump who is going to be accused of crimes against humanity. And if we want this kind of behavior to stop, we are all going to have to question, and we are all going to have to hold them accountable. If you've gotten this far in the video, you've clearly found something you've either liked or hated enough to watch the end. Leave a comment down below and let me know which one it is. It also works if you want to like the video or subscribe to the channel, but I'll be here as often as I can, inspired in my defiance and by my reality. And I hope you will be too.